Hey FPL managers, it's Josh here from FPL Hauly, back with another video. FPL's silly season is truly upon us. A shorter video from me this week, as Game Week 14 is our first midweek FPL round of fixtures. Now buckle up for a busy month. There are 7 FPL game weeks in December alone. That's 18.5% of the entire FPL season happening in the next 30 days. And this is where engaged managers like yourself can get that competitive edge. Today, I'm breaking down my 54-point haul from Game Week 13, 3 crucial lessons from the game week, including Salah's shock benching and Newcastle's away resurgence, my chip strategy for the AFCON period, and my complete plan for navigating game weeks 14 through to 17. Let's dive in. So, Game Week 13 was complete chaos. Over 1 million managers triple captained Haaland. That was actually a record for a single game week. Free hits were flying left and right, and somehow, with a score of 54 points, I actually got a green arrow, and I've climbed 37k places to 61k overall rank, despite my captain blanking. Now, I made 3 transfers heading into Game Week 13, and the results were mixed, to say the least. So I did a really early transfer last week, and that was João Pedro to Thiago. I'm really pleased with that move. I beat the price rise, which is usually something that I don't do, but Thiago got me a 13-point haul, and I really am very happy with that move. Thiago is an absolute machine, and with Brentford's fixtures turning really nicely after Game Week 14, Thiago is a long-term hold for me now in my team. So I then went and punted double City defence. Now, I only bought Van Dijk in for 1 game week and then transferred him back out for O'Reilly, which feels very knee-jerk and would be not something I would usually do at all. But the reason being is because I sat down and I figured out I had 6 free transfers that I needed to use before Game Week 15. And with Liverpool's really terrible display against Forest, I thought Van Dijk just has to go because I couldn't see them keeping a clean sheet anytime soon. Anyway, I did O'Reilly for Van Dijk and Doku for Enzo. Now, if I'd have just not made those transfers, I'd have been better off because Van Dijk did keep a clean sheet. But anyway, you live and learn. I had to take a punt, and Man City at home to an abject Leeds could have quite easily been a 4 or 5-0. Didn't turn out that way, but I backed my decision-making process anyway. The triple up on Man City looked great on paper, and Nico O'Reilly actually registered the highest expected points for the whole game week. He actually registered an expected points of 8.23. The underlying numbers were there. O'Reilly super attacking. He got an assist, but he only got 4 points. Anyway, I also had a coin toss between Foden and Doku. Obviously, I went for Doku, and that one really stings. If I'd have bought Foden in and had him and Gakpo and Thiago, geez, my game week would have been amazing. Anyway, can't complain. Green arrow, all looks good. So, as I mentioned, Gakpo came through for me with those 14 points. I have to say, I've been so lucky with Gakpo. For any of my regular watchers, you'll know that I've done a couple of these cycles with Gakpo right now. He blanks for a couple of weeks, I get frustrated, he gets benched, I come that close to selling him, I then have another fire in my team to put out, and I hold him, and then Gakpo goes and hauls, and he's done it again for me. That was a huge 14 points, and I'm absolutely delighted. He's also a massive differential for me now, and he's nearly 95% owned outside of other managers in my rank. So when he scores like this, it's a huge boost for my rank. Saka and Mateta also getting returns was great to see as well. And look, in terms of duds, I've done really well from my double Palace defence recently. It was only last week that I was singing their praises. I can't complain too much when they go and concede like they did twice against Man United. Munoz and Richards only got me a single point each. It happens. All 3 of my City lads were disappointing, as I said, but actually in a way that was a bit of a silver lining because with so many triple captains on Haaland, the blank from him was probably actually the better thing for me in the long run. When I was looking at the numbers, Haaland would have only actually benefited my rank by like 5%. So actually it was better for me for him to have blanked, which is weird, but that's FPL. How many points did you score in Game Week 13? Drop your score in the comments below. I really wanted to know how your game week went. So 3 key takeaways from Game Week 13 that are shaping how I'm thinking about the next few weeks. So first up, Salah was benched, Isak got off the mark, and Liverpool kept a clean sheet. Now, Salah was benched. He wasn't just benched and rested. He actually didn't play a single minute, which I think is one of the first times that's happened, definitely in the slot era. So that's actually also really surprising, considering Salah is going to be off to AFCON soon. You would have thought that Slot would have wanted to maximise the minutes while they still have him, but this could actually be a sign of things to come when their Egyptian king is off at AFCON. So wait and see the next Liverpool lineup in Game Week 14. Isak also opened his account, scoring his first Premier League goal for Liverpool, and Liverpool kept a clean sheet. They contained a blunt West Ham to just 0.33 expected goals conceded, just as I said Van Dijk, which I already said, and that is classic FPL. Second, Newcastle finally win on the road. Thiaw with a brace and scored 16 points, which was actually the highest scorer in Game Week 13. So for a defender to get 2 goals and a clean sheet, that's a really nice return. So 2 nice fixtures coming up for Newcastle as well. And what's interesting is that the 4 goals Newcastle scored, they had 3 different scorers and 4 different assisters. They registered 1.92 expected goals, which was actually the 4th highest expected goals of the game week and the most of any team playing away in Game Week 13. So not only did Newcastle break their away run hoodoo, but they absolutely smashed it. Thiaw is firmly on my watch list for this week. That kind of attacking output from a defender at his price point is exactly what I'm looking for, and Newcastle have 2 really nice home fixtures coming up. Now, third up, Spurs were unlucky to lose, but is Frank in a funk? Fulham only created 0.42 expected goals in Game Week 13. That was the second lowest of the game week, only behind West Ham. Fulham only had 3 shots on target. They created no official big Opta-defined big chances, but they still scored 2 goals. And obviously the second goal was thanks to a howler from Vicario. Spurs will feel hard done by to have lost. This game probably should have been a 0-0 or a 1-1 draw. I am avoiding Spurs assets for the time being, as Frank is under some serious pressure right now. Right, before I continue, I want to tell you about something I've been enjoying during these long gaps between FPL game weeks. You know how I'm always banging on about process over panic? Well, I found the perfect way to scratch that football management itch when there's no FPL action. It's called FOOTIUM. I spent years glued to Football Manager back in the day, building a club from the ground up, scouting talent, perfecting tactics. Then FPL came along and gave me that real-time matchday buzz. And for me, FOOTIUM is the best of Football Manager and FPL combined into a single game. Here's what I love about it. You own and manage your own football club. You've got a youth academy churning out prospects each season. You're building your squad, setting your tactics, and then watching matches play out live. It's only 1 short match per day, so it fits around your life instead of consuming it. And when FPL goes quiet and you're climbing the walls waiting for game week news, that's the perfect time to dive into FOOTIUM. I've left my referral link in the description below. If you fancy taking over a rival club and challenging me, click the link in the description below. It genuinely helps support the FPL Hauly channel. Right, back to FPL. Now, a quick check-in on this planning slide because I get a lot of positive feedback about it, and it's great to hear that so many of you find this useful. Now, we are already halfway through the current block of 4 fixtures that are highlighted in green to the left of the screen. And Game Week 14 is the first midweek FPL round of the season, so do not miss the deadline tonight. As I mentioned, there were so many chips played in Game Week 13, 1.17 million managers triple captained Haaland, and a huge amount of free chips were played as well. I don't expect there to be too many chips played between now and Game Week 17 because we have the AFCON transfer top-up, which I'll talk about more in a second. I think the next big round of chips will be played in Game Week 17 when Haaland has West Ham at home, so that's a really good triple captain choice. But here's the main point I want to stress, and this is critical. You have 2 more game weeks, so that's game week, this deadline tonight, 14, and game week 15 on Saturday, to use all of your remaining free transfers. As soon as that game week 15 deadline hits, all of us managers in the FPL game are automatically topped up to 5 free transfers because of players leaving for AFCON. So if you don't spend all your transfers by that game week 15 deadline, you are basically wasting them. So use this as an opportunity to tweak your team, refresh your bench, bring in that player for a short-term punt that you want to, but really have a think about how you can best use your transfers. Personally, I have 4 free transfers that I need to use, and I'll talk about my strategy in a second. On AFCON specifically, according to Sky Sports, FIFA has informed clubs that they can retain players selected for AFCON until December 15th. So this would mean that players in FPL would actually be available for the Game Week 16 round of fixtures. So there's a bit more clarity on that situation now because there was some discussion that it might be between 15 and 17. So that is something to keep in mind as you plan your transfers. This means that you'll get an extra game week out the likes of Mbeumo and other players leaving for AFCON. Now for my updated player watch list. As I mentioned, because I have 4 free transfers to burn between now and the Game Week 15 deadline, my player watch list is looking a bit different to managers who may only have 1 or 2 transfers left. So for example, I punted on O'Reilly and Doku last week because because I had those 6 free transfers I mentioned. So as a result, for at least 2 of my upcoming moves, probably this game week, I'm thinking quite short term. So as in, I'm just looking at the next game week 14 or 15 only, because most of my team I'm happy to hold in the medium to long term. So I just want some short-term upside. And because I will need to use at least 1 more free transfer in game week 16 anyway, because we're going to get topped up to 5, I'd encourage you to think about who you like in the short term. So for me, Man City assets are looking really good. So Fulham away and Sunderland at home are their next 2 and are decent fixtures. I'm most likely going to hold O'Reilly for now, particularly because Senesi is now suspended. Manchester United, they have West Ham at home and Wolves away. So I really like Bruno. His 2 assists away at Crystal Palace really gave me that knee-jerk itch to get him in. And for these 2 really nice fixtures, I think Bruno could score some really nice points. Another thing with Bruno as well is that he's on penalties, he's on set pieces, and also during this busy period, Bruno is a 90-minute man. He's not going to get benched, and he will very likely at least get an 80-minute sub. He will most likely also play 90 minutes. So no real rotation risk with Bruno, and he's on my shortlist to bring in this week. Another team that I'm looking to target is Newcastle. So they have 2 really nice home fixtures with Spurs and Burnley in the next 2. So Thiaw, the centre-back who scored 16 points in the last game week, is mostly likely going to be my Senesi replacement. So I'm looking at Bruno and Thiaw as my 2 transfers this week. And if you've not got Thiago as your 3rd striker, then Voltemada could be a really nice short-term punt. And also some breaking injury news. Nick Pope has been confirmed as being out for the next 3 weeks or so, which is roughly 6 FPL game weeks. Now, Ramsdale, who his cover at Newcastle, is just 4.8 million. So he could be a really nice differential in goal for Newcastle. And then finally, Brighton. Brighton had Villa at home and West Ham at home. Minteh looks set to rise again. I think he's 6.2 or even 6.3 now. And Minteh could be a really great enabler option. Brighton's fixtures are kind. Minteh's averaging, I think, 86 minutes a game, and he's got really good assist threat. You'd like to see a bit more goal threat from him, but at that price, he's a real steal and is a real consistent performer. So yeah, for me, it would be Ramsdale as a goalkeeper option, Thiaw for Newcastle defence, Bruno and Minteh as your midfielders, and then Voltemada as your option up front. Now, looking at the next 4 game weeks, and this is how I really like to plan FPL when I look at the blocks of the game week. So I'm looking on this slide at game weeks 14 to 17. Now, from a captaincy perspective, I'm really happy to see that Saka and Haaland continue to rotate really nicely. It really makes life so much simpler when your 2 premium assets take it in turns with really nice fixtures. So Saka is looking really good for game weeks 14 and 16. Saka has Brentford at home and Wolves at home in those fixtures, and they're both really nice fixtures. My one reservation with Saka is that his minutes aren't great. He's getting earlier and earlier subs, and now Madueke is back. That does make me wonder if there's going to be pressure on Saka's minutes. Now, Bruno Fernandes, if I brought him in game week 14, is a really tempting captain at home to West Ham, as I mentioned, because you know you're going to get 90 minutes out of him. I don't think his ceiling is as high as Saka, but he's going to have the minutes there. So I may be tempted to stick the armband on Bruno if I bring him in. Haaland is then a locked captain for me in game weeks 15 and 17. He has Sunderland and West Ham at home in those game weeks. So no need to overthink those, an easy captain decision. Now, as for the transfers this game week, I am going to be looking to transfer out Senesi, who's suspended, and Doku, who is a 1 game week punt for me. There's a bit of a toss-up for me in my combinations. So as mentioned already, I'm leaning towards Thiaw of Newcastle and Bruno Fernandes. And as mentioned, they've got really nice fixtures, and I think their minutes are going to be locked for the next 2 game weeks. However, the other option could be Timber and Minteh. So Timber would get me back to my double Arsenal defence for a nice fixture at home to Brentford. And Minteh, as mentioned, is a nice midfield enabler with 2 nice fixtures. I do wonder, though, if Timber might be due a rest in game week 14. Ben White has generally been covering the midweek cup games, but Timber started last midweek against Bayern. Ben White was on the bench and seemed to be fine. So this is putting me off Timber for now, because I think that Ben White could potentially start this game week at home to Brentford. Which combination of the transfers do you prefer? Do you prefer Thiaw and Bruno or Timber and Minteh? Let me know in the comments below. And finally, this is how I'm setting up for game week 14. So if I do make those planned moves for Senesi and Doku to Thiaw and Bruno, then I'll play a 4-4-2 and I'll put Thiago first on my bench. So I think Arsenal will have enough to keep a clean sheet against Brentford at home. And I do feel that the rate that Brentford are winning penalties for Thiago to convert must be slowing down soon because it's very, very high. So I am actually quite comfortable benching Thiago for this one, even though he's in amazing form. Now, before I make those transfers, I would have 2.6 million in the bank and 3 free transfers. And after those mentioned transfers, I'll be taking 1 free transfer into Game Week 15 with just 0.1 million left in the bank. I am wary that Burnley are quite good at home. So playing double Palace defence, again, doesn't fill me with confidence. And I don't ever like backing against Haaland, even when he's away from home. Fulham have an okay defence, so I feel like this game could go either way. And there's a good chance he might blank at Craven Cottage, but you just never know with Haaland. Now, on the flip side, my side is looking really balanced with those transfers made. And I'm feeling good about some strong home fixtures for some of my big hitters in midfield. So Saka, Bruno, Gakpo and Semenyo would all have really, really nice home fixtures and really good opportunities to haul. So Game Week 14 could be a really big game week for me. Let's just hope there's not too much midweek rotation from some of the managers. How is your team looking ahead of Game Week 14? And who are you looking to captain? If it's Haaland, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'll be really interested to see the captain split this week. So there we have it, Game Week 13 reviewed with that 54-point haul and another green arrow taking me to 61k overall rank. Remember, the Game Week 14 deadline is 6 p.m. UK time this evening. Do not get caught out. If you found this video helpful, make sure you're subscribed to FPL Hauly because I make videos like this every week. Clear strategy, no panic, just smart FPL made simple. And best of luck in Game Week 14.